All right, so I am sitting here with Jason, and Jason actually kind of runs the show around here. And I'm going to ask a few questions. I mean, this is the, if I'm not mistaken, 7th?
Yeah, the 7th Indy Airstrip Attack.
Yeah, so how did this thing get started? Were you part of that?
Yeah, so I'm one of the original 2 founders of Shiftsector. Me and my business partner, Ryan Fisher, we actually met street racing. So we used to do these street races at like 4 in the morning down in Orange County, where I'm from. And I was in a Porsche 911 Turbo back then, and my buddy Ryan was in his Corvette. We actually met. There's like 40 of us. We would hit the freeways and toll roads at like 4 in the morning. We'd race each other, and that's how we met. And after doing that for a few years, you know, I had like a kid, and he was growing up. He was going to law school, and we were both sort of like, you know, it'd be sort of cool if we found a way to do this, but not worry about the cops all the time. You know, the cops were sort of figuring out where we were going, and they were starting to bust us, you know, and so we were trying to do the right thing. We're like, you know, maybe we should like rent a drag strip or a racetrack so we could race each other, you know, and just get the cops off of us. So we started doing that. We rented some racetracks, but we wanted to go faster. You know, like the racetrack, you can only go so fast, and we're like, where are we gonna find a flat piece of tarmac where we could just race like a real street race for like a half mile?
Yeah.
And we were like, well, you know, like I mean, there's airport runways. Like, what are how are we gonna get our airport runway? So we're like, well, let's just look around and see what we can find. So we ended up finding one in the middle of nowhere. Did sort of like this private event with like 80 cars. It was like a one-day thing, and it just literally blew up like on social media, and people were like interviewing us and looking us up, like, what the hell are you guys doing? This is so sick. And we both have full-time jobs, and he was in law school, and and so we just sort of kept going after it. And now 11 years later, you know, here we are, 7th year in Indy. We've been in like, I think 8 states now, 8 or 9 different states doing these events. We've created the standing half mile. We have world records. We have Guinness Book of World Records. We have different classes now. People specifically build cars for these events. So it's definitely become a very cool thing, and I'm very happy and lucky to be a part of it. I'm very excited for it.
Man, I gotta wonder, like the very first year usually is the roughest, because where I'm at right now, this is pretty polished. Like, you got this thing down.
Yeah, I mean, 11 years, and I would say probably about 8 of those years, the last 8 years, with mostly the same core of my team. So I got to give those guys a lot of credit. You know, they all have their own responsibilities, and they're really good at their job. And from the beginning, I'll be honest with you, you know, the first few years are supposed to be hard because I'm an entrepreneur. So I actually quit my previous job and my previous company to do this full time because I enjoyed it so much. But to be honest with you, like the reason the first few years in this job, the reason it didn't feel difficult is because we were just doing it for the passion of it. So we weren't making any money, but we just loved doing it. We loved planning everything. We loved marketing it. We loved the cars. So Ryan and I were doing it. Literally, we were like barely making any money, but we just had like the best time doing it. And so there was no stress, no pressure. And I think it's because of that attitude, and people could see that in Shiftsectors, that we're true enthusiasts, and that we weren't doing it for the money, that made them love the brand and love how we do things even more.
Yeah.
You know, and then we just grow it from there in terms of like trying to do the right thing for the classes to make things fair. Obviously, our biggest focus is on safety, so we've had a pretty flawless record in regards, not a single broken bone in 11 years doing this form of racing is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And the people know that we really care. We care about them. We care about the cars. We want people to have a good time. It's important to us and my entire team, and people can see that. And hopefully that's why people love Shiftsector.
Man, dude, I think it's awesome. This is my first year being here. I know Mark is a really good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And he's been coming up here, and I'm so glad I came this year because I'll be back again next. It's awesome, man. Just the environment and what it is everybody's got the same love. It's a love for cars, man.
Yeah,
and they go fast, and it's just an awesome experience. So, what is your next stop? Are you going to Texas, or is it?
Yeah, so we have 2 more races this year. We have an event in Kansas in October, and then our season finale is in Abilene, Texas in November.
Okay.
So we have 2 more events this year. They should both be great events. You know, obviously Indy's been going on for 7 years, so it's really like probably our biggest event of the year. But both of those are going to be really great. And obviously with both Kansas and Texas, there's a lot of cars and a huge scene in both of those areas. So we see a lot of really cool cars, really unique builds and really fast speeds.
So what if somebody comes here, or they want to come here and they race?
Yeah.
What do they have to do? Because I saw somebody get turned away at the front because they were not registered, or how does that work?
So for the sake of the event itself, honestly, this event actually surprisingly sold out for drivers 5 months ago. And a lot of people are like, well, what do you mean sell out? Like, just sell more spots, like make more money. And again, that's never been the way we do things. We want people to have a good time. I can sell 100 more spots, and that means people here get fewer races in, and that means we're more crowded. And it's just, we try to find a really nice balance where we understand having a lot of cars makes it more exciting. But when you have too many cars, it actually takes away from the experience for the drivers. So having said that, we always encourage our drivers and people who want to come out to race with us, and anybody can, to just sign up early, and which you can at airstripattack.co. And you can sign up for the Kansas event, which is not currently sold out, and the same for our Abilene event, currently not sold out. So just go ahead and sign up and come out and have a good time.
I love it. I know you've got to get running, but I was curious. I saw a lot of like alternative fuel sources like ethanol and with Indiana corn and some other things. Do you think that this event alone is helping spark some of that alternative fuel source?
Absolutely. I mean, anybody in the race world knows over the last decade has learned about the benefits of ethanol fuel for your race car, right? Like, you make more torque, you make more horsepower, your engine runs cooler. There's a lot of benefits to running ethanol, and a lot of the cars here, I would say over the course of 10 years, we've gone from probably seeing a 5% vehicle use, race car use of ethanol blended fuels to this event where we're seeing over 60% of the cars here are using ethanol blended fuels.
Wow.
But there are obvious benefits to that, and a lot of that is education and marketing, right? And we try to take a big role in that. We try to educate, our drivers, our spectators, and our audience about the benefits of ethanol for performance. But over the last 5 years, what you're seeing just globally in general are some other forms of benefits of using ethanol that I think don't have to do with performance. People are becoming more concerned about the environment. F1 is becoming more concerned about the environment, and having ethanol as our primary fuel sponsor at all of our events allows us to educate that, not just market ethanol, but to educate people about the benefits of that, benefits to the environment, benefits to our country. The ethanol fuel is grown right here in the middle of our country, right here in Indiana. So having control of our own fuel source is a topic that's been talked about a lot recently, especially, I don't want to get into politics, but I mean, it's important that we have control over our own fuel source. It's important that it's sustainable, and I personally believe that it's better for America. So, and to give us the opportunity to not just market it, but to educate the public about the benefits of ethanol, I think is a great thing.
Absolutely, man. That's a great message. So I know you got to get back to work, but before you go, is there anything you'd like the listeners to know?
I would like you guys to follow us and check us out, so you can sort of see this is the half mile. Is ideal for today's modern street car. And that's really why you see, like, when you look around here, you don't only see one type of car. You see domestic, you see exotic, you see, Japanese import, you see German exotics, and you see everything, right? And because the modern street car is so fast in itself that you sort of need a half mile to really appreciate it. And we feel that, an eighth of a mile or a quarter mile, the race ends sort of quick. And the half mile gives you the opportunity to sort of be side by side with someone for a good 10, 15 seconds. It's really fun. It simulates street racing in a lot of ways. And you can just get exposed to a lot of different types of cars, a lot of different types of companies. And then really it's a very casual, fun, exciting race environment. So I just encourage people to check it out and let us know what you think.
Awesome. And then one last time, how can they find you?
You can find us, it's Shiftsector, SHIFT3CTOR.com. And our event website is airstripattack.co. And you'll also find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and everywhere else. So,
awesome, man. Thank you so much. And thanks for such a great time today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Bayles. How you doing, Dan?
Great. Where are we today?
We're in beautiful Marion, Indiana, in a cornfield at an airport at the Indy Airstrip Attack 2022, where there's, 270 high-performance cars anywhere from a couple hundred horsepower all the way up to 2,500 horsepower. Some of these cars will go in excess of speeds of 250 miles an hour. Daniel, that's pretty fast.
That is pretty fast, Mark. I don't think I've ever been that fast. But I think you're going to take me on a trip today, right?
Yeah, so I'll take you in the Hellcat. Makes about 900 wheel horsepower. I'll put you in the passenger seat. I'll make your gut go all the way up in your innards, and we'll see if I can make you smile more than you already do.
Hey, you're sponsoring Indy's Garage?
Yeah, Indy's Garage. So we're here with Indiana Corn Marketing Council, Indiana Soybean Alliance, First Farmers Bank and Trust, of course, Shiftsector. Those are all kind of our partners that we've been working with. E-Flex Fuel, which is a kit that runs in my car that makes it be able to run on ethanol or gas, which on ethanol makes about 100 more horsepower. So that's where all of these cars get the power, is from ethanol. Ethanol is what is basically growing all around us. It's the corn. It's not the corn that we eat, but it's corn we turn into fuel. It's reusable and it's cleaner. So that's why I'm a big positive influence that ethanol should be used more often.
Awesome. So you're getting the message out. How many cars are you racing today?
So we have 9 cars, including 2 Hellcats, Lamborghini Aventador, a GTR Nissan. That's an all-wheel drive, makes about 850 horsepower. Slava has his Evil M6. That's about 1,000 horsepower. Then we have a GT Mustang that is a Hennessy that has 1,000 horsepower as well. And then Tyler McGinnity, who has a 135i that is 600 horsepower. The car only weighs about 3,000 pounds. So about the same type of power that my car makes, it just has a lot less weight to move. So he gets high speed.
All right, welcome back to Gray Flannel Suits, and we are sitting here with Helena, Jette, if I got that right.
Yes, you did. Helena Jette.
Thanks. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I can say who I am and
yeah,
I'm
go
doing?
ahead.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Why are you sitting at Gray Flannel Suits?
So, okay, I am the biofuels director for Indiana Corn Marketing Council and Indiana Soybean Alliance. This is my whole job is to do market development for ethanol in all forms, biodiesel, renewable diesel, and sustainable aviation fuel. But I'm here today at the Marion Municipal Airport because it is all about ethanol. So that is the promo sponsorship. So about 5 years ago, we started sponsoring this event. And then 3 years ago, we decided to take it to the next level and do a live stream broadcast. So this is a third year live stream broadcast, and viewers live stream and the reach continue to grow in the millions. So I keep continuing to sponsor it, thankfully, for my board of directors from the Indiana Corn Marketing Council, which represents over 25,000 farmers in Indiana, corn farmers.
Good.
Yes.
That's nice. That's important.
It is. I mean, not coming from agriculture as my background, I came from actually the fuel industry. So not a lot of people know that I used to run a lot of convenience stores in the state for many years, which introduced me to this biofuels role. And I said, wait, you want me to do biofuels? I'm not an engineer. I can't make the fuel. If I can sell it, I can market it. So the whole sustainability, environmentally conscious, renewable fuels is the future right now. I mean, I know you've heard a lot about electric vehicles. And, that's always the hype, the new kind of sexy iPhone that kind of is out there in front of you. But that is literally like 50 plus years out, and people will probably argue on your podcast right now with me on that. But we produce, in Indiana, like over 1.2 billion gallons of ethanol each year. I'm glad you mentioned.
Is that real?
No, and that's so you know when you hear like something bad, the negative things stick in your mind more than positives. It's like takes 10 positives for every negative. So that is the first thing that I have to say is okay. So the corn out here in crops for what's going into the fuel is not the corn that we eat at home. So the corn that goes to, as a byproduct is ethanol. The primary product is called dried distiller grains, which goes to feed livestock. So the pigs and the hogs, so
it's a special type of corn.
It's a special type of
corn.
We
can't eat
We
that.
don't eat it.
But the car will do great on it.
The car, so the meal is what that's called, is the protein, and then the byproduct is the ethanol. So the ethanol came about back in 2007. There's a Clean Air Act getting into some legislation, which made everybody have 10% ethanol per gallon of fuel, because not only is it a great octane source, which is why all the guys here understand this, but a lot of, like myself before, consumers, whatnot, get confused with the food part, and then also the fact that ethanol is already in the gallon at the station, and your car is okay, can take it. So we have unleaded 88, which is actually E15, so it's 15% ethanol and then 85 gas. And so that's for model year 2001 and newer. That can take that. It's an extra 5% of ethanol that's already 10% in the gallon. It gives that extra octane, so it's 88 octane versus the regular 87.
Okay.
So that's why we have unleaded 88 or regular 88.
Okay.
I try to keep it simple, like you're just getting gas. It shouldn't be this hard to think about.
Right, it's a little more ethanol. You already got ethanol,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Just a little bit more. So the big question that most people that aren't familiar with ethanol is, why should I care?
Yes, you're right. I was that person because
Yeah.
I was on the fuel side. I was on the convenience store side. I cared about selling items inside the store for profit margin.
Yeah.
Not a lot of margin's made up at the pump. So why should you care? Well, I always say like three things. So one, I guarantee you, and I have a lot of apps for all the convenience stores in Indiana. I had a hat today from Pearson Fuels, which is the largest 85 fuel supplier in California that I work with. It's price. So ethanol is cheaper than gasoline.
Okay.
So when you go to the pump, you go to the gas station, and you see, maybe you've seen it right now because gas prices have been crazy and inflation and all these crazy things. So they run for E15 anywhere from 10, 15 cents cheaper than regular, and then E85 is anywhere from 50, 60, 70 cents all the way up to $1 and $2 what I've seen in California compared to regular. So it's cheaper for your wallet, it's better for the environment, and it's safe for your engine. So
Okay.
that's my talking points. Now, if you have a flex fuel vehicle, it has a yellow gas cap. That's how you know you have an E85 flex fuel vehicle. So I tell people, it'll say it on the gas cap, and then when you pick up the yellow handle, they'll say, do you have a flex fuel vehicle? And you hit yes, and that's what you. So E85 is the only one that I give that extra background for. But
Got it.
E15 and E10, which is what we have now, is so substantially similar. It hoops with the EPA most of the time. We have
So you're talking about on a smaller scale. Now, some of these vehicles I hear are running a bigger percentage of ethanol, right?
Yeah, so there's E98, which is a racing fuel too, and I mean the octane, it goes to like 116, 120. It's crazy. So yeah, there are some ethanol producers for racing fuel that will up that more than the E85.
Wow.
And so it's just. It's crazy how fast some of these cars can go. As you've seen, I saw Jessica is holding the fastest race right now at 241 of the first.
241.
Fastest mile.
So it does not reduce any sort of power or torque. I've heard it actually enhances.
Well, so here's the thing with the 85 years ago, everything gets better right with time. Like additives, it changes. So there is like anywhere from a 9 to 13% miles per gallon loss.
Yeah.
But when I do the math compared to if you're saving like $1 or $2 per gallon versus what you're paying for regular, I mean, that little percentage is not
big. I go to Costco to fill up because I save a little bit.
Yes.
Right?
We could talk shop on retail stuff all day long.
Right.
How many studies that I've had to do with people who see 3 cents, 5 cents cheaper, and what the behaviors are to how much are you actually going to turn to go on the other side of the corner to go fill up. But you'd be
Is
surprised.
it worth it? Yeah.
Less than 3 cents, usually no, and then any more than that, consumers will look. It is kind of funny because it's the only thing in the world that every single day has a volatile price, and we're okay with that.
Yeah, that's true.
So I am curious to see how electric vehicle pricing is going to be with fuel pricing at the pump, because you're going to be having to measure it in kilowatts. So if it says 15 cents, but how much do you have to charge your battery? Really, there's a huge infrastructure gap right now with that too. Yeah. I am not anti-EV. Everybody's like, oh, you're biofuels. Of course, you're, this is what you do.
Right.
I'm like, no, I'm a consumer first, and I think people can choose whatever they want. But with the way that the economy is right now, being able to afford that type of a vehicle, it doesn't seem economical. You got to charge it. You see how our phones were built around charging everything. You got to have it in your house to charge. If you're in an apartment, you got to find it on the street. Yeah, there's a lot of free places right now at the restaurants and things, but that's not going to be forever. I mean, people are going to want to make money off of their electricity.
And I'm like you. I'm on board with all of it. And I like the battery powered stuff, right? It's just the problem with that is you are limited. I don't like that you can just go and within 5 minutes have a full tank and then take back off. You have to wait, right? So that's like kept me from unless you're just doing around the city commutes and that kind of thing. Okay, I get it. But that's the one thing that's like kept me out of pursuing that. And I think you're on the right track. We're like, what'd you say, 20 years away from that being a real power player?
There's so many studies.
Possibly
50 plus years is what.
Yeah, for it to be really just like it
Well,
is.
you see these government packages come out, and I get anything when you see lots of money from the government. It's like, okay, this is not going to be good because somebody's going to have to pay for it. There's no free money.
Right.
So when they do, yes, we're going to give all this money towards this product or incentives or credits to buy a vehicle, and we haven't kind of thought through how are you going to set up all this infrastructure?
Yeah,
and to
it's a
your
lot.
point, my kids, I have 11 and 9-year-old, like they're not going to sit for 30, 45 minutes.
No.
Like I don't plan that far in advance when we take a road trip.
Right.
I'm like thinking about when we get to the place and what
it's
we're going
the
to do.
worst.
I'm not like mapping out my destination spot. Now, again, folks might be on your podcast, might argue and say, oh, well, if you drive this car or that car, they come with an app. Okay, so how many apps are you going to have?
Yeah.
To navigate your trip? And
Right.
then, there are some companies that'll say, oh, we'll come out like a AAA and fix you if you need a battery. But again,
It's
I don't know.
not reliable
It's not like
enough.
a spare tire.
You bring up a good point, right? Like, because I know if you were like me, and I'm probably every other kid in the world, whenever we went on a road trip vacation somewhere, which my parents did a lot, you were always like, how much longer? How much longer? Are we there yet? Could you imagine being like, well, we got to stop for 45 minutes here, and then 45 minutes here, and it's like, it would drive me nuts. But it will get there. I do, as fast as it's going.
Well, people always say, well, once it happens, what are you going to do? I'm like, well, gosh, when I add that to my age, I'm going to be a lot older. But I think for the younger generation, there's a couple ways to look at it. One, liquid fuels. Liquid fuels isn't going to go away.
No, people love their cars.
They love their cars, and so I get concerned with folks that are younger and if they're trying to tell everyone there's not going to be any engines, and that immediately reduces the trade of somebody coming into college or learning that skill set. So I get worried about that because then I'm like, okay, so we do have these cars, but somebody has to make sure they maintain it because the guys we have now are going to get older too.
Yeah.
So I worry about that. So I don't think we need to abandon an internal combustion engine altogether. And then I also say, well, we are doing other things we're working on that I do with ethanol and corn and et cetera is sustainable aviation fuel. So I work with, I went to Purdue, but Purdue University happens to be one of the research groups that are making sure corn and oil and soybean oil are part of that equation as a feedstock to make jet fuel.
Yeah.
So airlines everywhere, if you follow, I get alerts every day, like American Airlines, Alaskan Airlines, everyone's committed 100 million gallons from this company that they're going to be by 2030, 2050, net zero. Well, they burn in those jets, like we fly everywhere, billions of gallons of fuel. So that's why I say the liquid fuel market's not going to go away anytime soon.
No.
We've got marine vessels. Everything can't be electric.
No.
It's just not. I don't want to have an electric plane. I don't know about you, but no, thank you. I want to make sure I get there safely.
I agree with you 100%, right? Like, it's not going away. Not in our lifetimes. Probably not in our grandkids' lifetimes. Like, it'll be a long while. Plus, people love their muscle cars and their race cars. They're not just trying to be electric. There's kind of takes the fun out.
It does. Why do you think they have the sound of the motor in the electric car?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny? If you
they have
that's
that now?
an option. Yeah.
Come on.
So you want to hear the roar? You can program it.
That's
just
horrible.
Like they can do any other size.
You wouldn't even feel like the torque or nothing.
I know.
So
they are fast though. I have been in.
They're fast.
Been in a Tesla.
A Tesla to come to this event.
Yeah.
Get them out on the track.
Well, I know only because I think we had a Prius one time, and it was like hauling
Really?
down the street.
Really?
I haven't seen one. I haven't seen
Prius?
anything today. We've gotten like an i3 BMW before.
Yeah.
They're so little. They're I like a little Chevy Spark. I'm not saying that on here. It's the Chevy Spark to a BMW. That's a great manufacturer. But yeah, so we're just enjoying. I love this event. This is the biggest. I'm not saying this like a salesperson, but this is the most attended to date event for here, and it's their number one race for their whole circuit. Now it used to be back when I started doing this, it was like maybe 100 cars would come out. Now we're maxed out at 270.
Yeah, how awesome.
And 3,000 spectators, and I'll get the numbers here by next week from the live stream. And we bring in 1.52 million live viewers and an 8 million reach.
Wow.
So, I know.
So I know you probably got a million things you got to get to. And by the way, what a great sound in the background.
It is.
It's such a great sound.
No, I'll tell you what I got to do. I have a tradition, so I go out on the track, and the grid girls, Jason Huang, the owner, and his wife Caroline, they always get me a grid girl outfit every year. When I did it. So I go out there and I'm going to go flag some cars to start the races. And then I have a pick where I jump as high as I can in the air with like trying to do this really high, like, I don't know what kind of, I wasn't a cheerleader, I played volleyball, but I'm like, So now it's like, I got to do that pick and I got to go out there and flag the races.
You got a lot to do. Is that coming up right now?
Yeah, right when I finish. I was gonna
Holy cow.
Jump in a gator and
just
go down here. I just got done doing the live stream just before this.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything that you want the viewers to know before you go?
Well, I think that knowing that there's 2 different types of corn, the one we eat and the kind we don't, is a huge takeaway. I think continuing to be open-minded with the word ethanol, it has a stigma to it to some who don't understand. For the racing community, that is what fuels their engines. And then just, local farms, support your local farms with the products and the food, the ingredients. I mean, we're in Indiana and there's so many restaurants here. We're like, one of the top 5 cities with the per capita for restaurants per population. It's a fun fact.
Wow.
And I think Mark actually told me it the other day. I'm like, what?
But he makes up a lot of stats.
They source tomatoes. I mean, it's just like, they're so yeah, to go, with a farm to fork, there's different programs online you can do, but definitely support your local communities and farms.
Well, and we support you and all that you're doing. Thank you so much to be on our site, and we appreciate you.
Thank you. I'm at Indy Biofuels on Twitter and Instagram. So.
A little bit about what you guys are doing out here. Why is this important for you to be here, and what you got on the horizon? So who would like to go first, and don't mind introducing yourself, please?
Yeah, I'll take it first.
Yep.
My name is Alex Sweet, Service Manager for Graham Rahal Performance. Last year, it started with last year, was we got invited by Jay just to fill a vendor spot or a sponsorship spot, and we brought our Stage 2 TRX, and everybody loved it. That truck was pretty much brand new at that point. Nobody had really done anything to it. So seeing them gap, 700-800 horsepower Hellcats to the quarter, in a 7,000-pound truck was awesome. So, but this year we did bring out a couple other cars that we had built this past few months. One of them was a 1,200 horsepower Trackhawk with a 7-liter Demon Performance Whipple supercharged, fully built everything, just to honestly see what it could do. It hasn't been to the track yet, but we are chasing the world record, so we're about 4.5 miles away from the world record today.
Wow, no kidding. So how fast has it ran so far?
169.
Yeah, so today we did 2 back-to-back 169-mile-per-hour runs. So we're at 174, I think, is the record, so we're getting there, but, it's a process.
Wow, that's awesome. How many years have you guys been out here?
So this will be our second year as a sponsor.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you travel with all the other shows? I know they're in multiple states.
We really don't. We would like to, especially was it the one out in Kansas or Oklahoma? We would like to, but we're still a small business. I mean, we have total 12 employees on the GRP side at least.
Wow.
So we just don't have the manpower to even kind of split the team up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So what are you guys currently working on besides this?
Let's see. Oh gosh.
You got to introduce yourself first.
Well, I'm Matt Walker. I'm the parts manager at JRP. We wear many hats, as I was telling someone else just a little bit earlier. There's only 3 of us that are customer facing in the shop: Alex, myself, and then Josh, who's not here at the moment. But currently, we're working on a Hellcat conversion on a 14 or 15 Ram 1500. So that'll be pretty gnarly. Oh gosh. Take the reins. I can't even remember. Oh man.
The big thing is right now we're doing a 240 SX build. Basically.
Oh yeah, that's a 2J build.
2J build, basically from Titan Motorsports. Cody, our shop foreman. Same thing with the Trackhawk. That was kind of like his brain. He's like, hey, can we do this? The customer was on board with it. Same thing. The 240 was actually Cody's beforehand. Customer bought it, and then the customer was like, hey, let's do this. And basically wants to turn it into kind of a drag street car, but basically wants to run 9s. So, yeah.
But then also we do track stuff too. We've got a pretty loyal customer. He actually, I don't know what he placed at the most recent Grid Life event, but he has a 890 Supra. Yep. And I can't remember exactly what his wheel horsepower was, but he's about to come back in for a big turbo.
Yep.
So, the full Varus engineering aero package, full suspension, brake upgrade. I mean, it's a pretty gnarly car. So we not only make cars go fast in a straight line, but clearly based off of Matt's car, we make them go pretty well around tracks too. So
That is awesome. Let me ask you guys, what do you feel about these alternative fuel sources like Indiana corn and so? I mean, how do you feel about that? Do you still get as much power? Is it worth the conversion kits? I mean, what do you think?
Absolutely, yeah. So even just doing an ethanol, like upgrading to ethanol, and especially in recent, couple months, gas prices are astronomical. So we've actually done a few full E85 conversions. E85, in general, you get 50 to 100 wheel horsepower from it. And on top of that, less emissions. And
smells real good.
It smells great. Technically, the byproduct of it is more horsepower.
Yep.
So,
wow.
So I think it's great. It allows customers, clients, and just fellow car enthusiasts and so on to just unlock more from the car just by switching to an alternative fuel.
Yep.
So I mean, generally speaking, I'd say it's a win-win. Just because, more horsepower.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I know there's so much talk about going solar, and they just passed this act to go everything's solar, and but there's still something missing in there, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
Like I've been in. We actually raced, and I know a lot of you know who Mark is. He had a Hellcat that we pulled up next to. I think the guy was probably in his late 60s, and he was in a Tesla. And I was in the car with Mark.
Wow.
And he's like, "Let's take this guy for a run."
That is 100% Mark. That
sounds about right.
And as soon as the thing hit, and he just looks over to him. This old man looks at him. He's like, "All right, I'll play along."
Yeah.
And that thing dusted him. But it was more fun in the Hellcat going from side to side.
Because it's character, it's personality, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's obviously what I mean. EVs are cool. They're fast. Everyone knows what their game is. But at the end of the day, like it's character. People build cars for the character that they have as this Huracan's about to pass by. I mean, everybody knows why they want a combustion engine because it sounds good. It may not be as fast as some EVs, but that's not always the point. So
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love being out here. And by the way, where are you guys located at?
Brownsburg, Indiana. So we're just off of 74, technically in the industrial district. There's talks of moving, but for the time being, we are in Brownsburg, Indy, right outside of Indianapolis, so it's not too bad.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys taking some time to come on here.
Yeah,
is there anything that you would like the general public to know that you guys are doing, or any sort of message, or any plug you want to give?
really right now. So we're also, what we also like to do is maintenance of, Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren. There's no really service center here in Indy to be able to service those. So we have full diagnostic equipment, especially McLaren, the pesky battery lights, just everything with those. So we have full diagnostics to service those vehicles.
Yep.
And then at the same time, we're also, I believe, the only service center in Indiana for sure that can fully service Porsche Carrera GTs. Yeah,
918 Spiders, I think, as well. Yeah, we can do it all. That's my favorite tagline to kind of tell customers, potential customers, clients, etc. is that currently in our shop right now we have a Honda Del Sol that's getting a big turbo, but we'll also change your oil on your Lamborghini Aventador.
Hold on a second.
Yep.
You're putting a turbo in a Honda Del.
And
it never had a turbo, did it?
And the best part is this car is mint. There's nothing wrong with it. And the guy's like, dude, let's do a turbo. All right, let's do it. So we're doing it.
We can do lift kits on trucks, mountain balance, wheels and tires. We'll prep you for the track that weekend. We've got a dyno. We have an alignment rack. We've got some of the best technicians in the city. It's a cool place to work. That's for sure. So it's a cool place to be. Our Cars and Coffee events are definitely a great place to hang out as well.
Yep. That's awesome. And where can they find those events? On your website?
All over social media. Instagram, Facebook.
Twitter.
Facebook's Graham Rahal Performance. Twitter as well.
Twitter is grperf.
Yep. And then GrahamRahalPerformance.com, Graham Rahal Performance on Instagram and Facebook. We'll have videos from this weekend too. So
how exciting! Yeah. Well, thank you, gentlemen, for joining Gray Flannel Suits.
Yep.
And I appreciate it. Have a great race today.
Thank you very much, sir. Yep.
Have a good one.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
You bet. Thank you.
I'll be the
Airstrip Attack. So
in beautiful Marion, Indiana, we were surrounded by beautiful cornfields and beautiful ladies and women. It's quite an event out here.
It looks really, really nice.
It is nice.
If you look around, it's a beautiful day for this.
Absolutely gorgeous. I think it's Dan. You used to be a meteorologist. What do you think the barometric pressure is? The barometric pressure?
Well, I'm going to have to say that the pressure is probably about 1,500.
Really?
Because it is dry and beautiful.
So that keeps it dry and beautiful when there's no pressure?
Sure does.
So let me tell you
Low
on
pressure
reason.
systems, what you don't want.
So can I tell you why that's important for racing? And since we're here for racing and we have horsepower, and I'll explain to you, the reason why that's important is because any car that is not naturally aspirated, so you have like a turbo or in layman terms like a supercharger, right? Those are forced air induction. And so the cooler the air, the less the barometric, I can't even say the word. The word you said. Say it.
Barometric.
Pressure. The cleaner, the drier the air, the more horsepower these cars make. And that's why some of these cars out here have 2,500 horsepower or more and can go in excess of 250 miles an hour. And weather plays a huge factor in that. Now, right now, if you look at the flags out there, you see the crosswind. Crosswinds are bad because that's something else that'll slow down these cars. So they look for either a tailwind. So if you see those flags change the direction and go with the track, every one of these guys who want to go super fast will hop out there and go, right?
Yeah.
So that's a huge factor, like in racing, and most people don't understand it. The weather is one of the biggest factors in these guys going fast.
You know, I know that to be true because the weather is a big factor in anything.
Like what you're gonna wear today?
Yeah. Am I gonna do that picnic? I don't know.
What's
or am
up?
I gonna use those military troops? And I don't know.
You don't even know. Or if
Race a car.
it's going to be a 6% chance of rain. 6%. Or who the fuck says 6% on anything, right? So you're saying there's a chance.
Wow. There's some law to that. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll give you. There are some laws.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, my man.
Yep.
You might have to. Looks like we got some people coming in on this podcast over here, which you
all
might
right.
have to help me talk to. All
right.
And we'll just have them strap in. But before we get to any of that, tell me a little bit about how many years have you been doing this, and what are you bringing knowledge to? Well, why do you do it?
So this is my 5th year participating in it. The first year that I did it, I was more just feeling it out and figuring what it was about. And then Helena, Jette, a friend of mine, and a person who's in charge of Indiana Corn Marketing Council, and she's like, do you want to come out next year and let's bring some cars and let's make this event kind of fun. And so fast forward to now, right? Now I'm bringing out 9 cars. I have 2 cars that are kind of personally mine. That are Hellcats. That one's 900 horsepower. The other's 600 horsepower. Then the guys that come out with us, 1,000 horsepower. BMW, Lamborghini Aventador that makes 950 power. So my part of this event is kind of bringing the fun and allowing the fans to do ride-alongs, right? So most of my cars will allow ride-alongs and will allow the experience that most people don't ever get to get. So that was kind of my niche in getting involved in this. And Jason Huang, who runs it for the Shiftsector, we became good friends over the last 5 years. We've hung out many times, even when he comes here. Now I'm going to try to do more events of this. And so that's kind of what I've always been, Dan. I like to bring fun and incitement, right?
Yeah.
And I'm passionate about this, right? I'm around cars every single day. I've done this, as you know. I started when we lived together 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and I, worked out of the garage, I think, right?
Yeah.
And so,
I deny those times. I'm just saying, I wasn't there.
I wasn't there. But you fast forward today, and now I'm involved in an event like this. This is really purely amazing. 270 cars that are out here. They have, 2,000 or 3,000 spectators, and you have some people out here that are going to be, competing for world records in cars that make 2,500 horsepower, right?
Jeez.
So it's addictive, and you're out here, right? It's cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is a fun environment. The excitement's there. Everybody's really. They share one thing, man. They share the excitement of cars
and fast.
like the passion of it.
Yeah.
And that's cool. And watching them go by, which if you could see this, they're flying by us as we're speaking.
Yep.
And what's the top speed today, Mark?
I think the top speed was 239. So 239. So at the end of the day, what's kind of cool is you'll see in the morning these guys will get out and run in the morning, right? These guys who really want to break records because it's cool, right? Now the bad side effect of that is the track is awesome. also cold, right? So it's a kind of a mix. All these things come into play, right? So at the end of the day, the track's going to be warm, right? Now you have wind, that's a factor. So, but towards the end of the day, in Indiana, wind will stop, right? We get a lot of wind in the middle of the afternoon, right?
Yeah.
Towards the end of the day, it'll start to calm. So then you have cooler temps, no wind, and the track is warm. So then they'll be back out again trying to go fast, right? So it's a whole day. There's a lot of guys out here that are just here to have fun. Yeah, they're not beating records, but you're still competing against guys that have the same type of horsepower, or is it stock? And you can go out and race those guys. Like, for me, I've not lost a race today to guys that are equally matched to me, right? I've beaten Hellcats, I beat a Viper that was out there, a GT500. These are all cars that match what mine is, but I beat them.
Yeah.
So,
what was your top speed today?
158, close to 160, but like I said, we're having a problem with mine where the tuning's not right. So at 160 miles an hour, it'll basically drop. So it means it's basically what almost seems like you would think it was hitting a speed limiter, but there's not one there. So there's something wrong in the tune, and the computer system is basically telling it we're either dropping timing, we're dropping fuel, or something's going on that we need to do some data logging. And unfortunately, Tony, who has our computer with all that, didn't bring it to me. So it's a shame.